Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Cain. Human trafficking is a form of modern day slavery where people profit from the control and exploitation of others. It is crazy that even after slavery was banned in the Civil War in 1865, that people today are still doing it. These victims of human trafficking are embarrassed and forced to do jobs that they do not want to do. Today I'm going to tell you more about human trafficking. There are different kinds of human trafficking I would like to talk about today. Human trafficking in its own, sex trafficking, and organ trafficking. Human trafficking in its own is just wrong. Just like people that traffic drugs and weapons, human trafficking is an industry that is solely based on supply and demand. The U.S. government estimates that 800,000 and 900,000 people are trafficked internationally each year. The total includes up to 20,000 people forcibly trafficked into the United States alone. This number is more than likely not even correct. There are some victims who might have not even reported that they were a human trafficked victim, or they have been killed way before they were able to report it. This is supposed to be the country of the free, and yet we still have people acting as slaves and being treated as such. Human trafficking is mostly in demand for things such as cheap labor or services and for sex acts. People who are involved in human trafficking victimize others and make sure that people who demand the service receive it. Human trafficking are taking these men, women, and children from countries or states away from their families so they can just sell them to another person. They kidnap them and make a big attempt to make sure they cannot get away in fear that if they do, they will get caught. Some people are even told their families might be killed or they might even be killed. Also, it is known that families are selling their girls to get some cash. Some examples where this might be happening is India and Thailand. In India, parents have sold an estimated 15 million children into bonded labor in return for meager loans of moneylenders. In Thailand, children are sold by their parents to make up a significant percentage of prostitutes in Thailand, which is a prime destination for pedophile sex tourists. Parents have hit an all-time low in this situation, selling their own flesh and blood to people they do not even know and knowing why they are sending them off to do this. Most of these girls might acquire a debt which they have to pay before they leave. The debt includes food and shelter, which potentially they might not ever leave because they still have to pay all of this and work. Sex trafficking is known very worldwide. It can happen to anyone. Up to 90% of the girls in rural areas don't go to school in fear of being abducted and sold into sexual servitude. 90% of those girls are potential doctors, lawyers, or the next governor, but they do not have the chance to do this because they do not go to school. It is hard to believe that 9 countries can go around selling women and children so that they can have a good paycheck. Do none of these traffickers have any women in their family that they respect? I would say no with the stories that we've heard about victims being beaten and doing jobs that they don't want to do. The victims of human trafficking who do get away have huge distress on them. They are scared to go out in the world and interact with anybody. A young girl named Sarah from Ohio was just one of the many of the victims from human trafficking. She ran away from home. In an attempt to run away from a broken family, she found herself in another broken home. Sarah was only 17, and a man spoiled her and said he loved her, and he was also 30, lured her into living with him after going on many dinner dates and trips to the salon. After months of living together, he confessed that he was not able to make the rent on his own and asked her to go on a couple dates and have commercial sex with men to help with the rent. This went on until Sarah was on the street and she was raped, and she called the police. And with help of the Polaris Project, she was planning on going to college, and the Polaris Project to help her along the way. The Polaris Project is just one of the many resources there are to help victims of human trafficking. Sarah's story is extraordinary. She is just one of the people who has gotten out of the hands of a human trafficking person. She was one of the lucky victims who escaped from the person she thought she could trust. One thing that I could not wrap my head around is that this was in Ohio. It was so close to home, and normally you think about these things happening in more of our foreign countries. However, people are not so lucky to get away just like Sarah did, Organ trafficking is another kind of human trafficking. Instead of people crossing the border, organs are crossing the border. Most of the people who are selling their organs are people who are desperate for some quick cash. Selling organs does not always work how planned though. Louis Picado came home one day in Magada, Niagara, and told his mother that he had met an American male who said he could give him a home in New York if he would just donate one kidney. After the surgery, Picado bled internationally from a severed artery and he bled to death. Matthew Ryan, the male who got the kidney, died 2 months later after receiving it. It is crazy that someone will promise another person things that they probably will never give them, and then the person ends up dying anyway because they donated a kidney and it wasn't taken out correctly. And they cannot live their American dream like they had planned to doing and they were so excited to do. The World Health Organization estimates that 5 to 10% of the 100,000 organs transplanted each year can be purchased illegally, typically from poor people desperate for cash. This estimate is probably so far off because with the organ trafficking, with it being illegal, how can they get the right number and statistics for this issue? Organ trafficking, in my opinion, has not been talked about enough. A lot of people think it's a joke, and they don't see it as something that's really happening in the United States. People are being trafficked every day. Humans are getting taken advantage of, whether it's for sexual purposes, for slavery purposes, or their organs. I'm glad that I got to talk to you more about human trafficking today and inform you more about it. If more people come forward, we might be able to take more control of this issue, and hopefully that happens. Thank you and have a good day.